In this video, we will look at dividing a whole number by a unit fraction. This standard is the first time that students are dividing with fractions. In fourth grade, students divided whole numbers and multiplied a whole number by a fraction. Students are, however, familiar with the concept of a unit fraction from their work in fourth grade. A unit fraction is a fraction that has 1 as the numerator. It is important to note that the algorithm for dividing fractions should not be introduced to students in fifth grade. Rather, students should create models when solving word problems within this standard. Let's take a look at the word problem here. This says, June has 2 containers of ice cream to share with guests at her birthday party. A serving of ice cream is 1/5 of a container. How many guests can June serve with the 2 containers she has? So let's take a look at what we know. We know that June has 2 containers of ice cream, and we know that a serving of ice cream is 1/5 of a container. We have to figure out how many guests can June serve with the 2 containers she has. That lets me know that I need to take the 2 containers she has, and I need to divide that by 1/5, because I want to figure out, well, how many fifths do I have in 2 wholes, since 1/5 of a container is a serving, and June has 2 containers of ice cream. So dividing 2 by 1/5 will let me know how many people she can serve. So to begin to solve this, I'm first going to represent the 2 whole containers of ice cream. I'm just going to use some rectangles. So there is 1 container of ice cream. And there's a second container of ice cream. And now what we need to do is we need to figure out, well, how many fifths are there in these 2 containers? And again, we're figuring out how many fifths are there since 1/5 of a container is a serving, and we want to know how many guests she can serve. So that means we will split each of these containers into fifths. So I'm going to split them into 5 equal parts. And now I need to count how many fifths do we have. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so this shows me that June would be able to serve 10 guests. She has 2 containers. 1/5 of a container is how much is a serving. And so we see that we actually have 10 servings that are 1/5 of a container. So we can kind of look at this as like this is for person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4, and so on. So we can see that 2 divided by 1/5 is 10. And to answer the word problem, we could say that June could serve 10 guests. Another way that we could show that is we could use a number line. Some students may prefer to do this. So we know that we have 2 containers of ice cream, so we'll show from 0 to 2 wholes. We'll also show 1 whole. And this is very similar. We know we want to figure out how many fifths there are in 2 wholes, because 1/5 of a container is what is a serving. So I will split each of these wholes into 5 parts, or into fifths. And then now I just need to count, well, how many fifths do we have? How many 1/5ths do we have here? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so with using this model, we can see that we are able to serve 10 guests as well. So we found that there are 10 fifths in the 2 wholes. And we know that this answer is reasonable. If we think about it, we are taking 2 and we are dividing it by 1/5. We're splitting 2 wholes into fifths, figuring out how many fifths there are in 2 wholes. We know that it takes several fifths. It takes 5 fifths to make 1 whole, and we were trying to make 2 wholes here. So an answer of 10 is very reasonable. And so again, this is how we can divide a whole number by a unit fraction